All right. Call to order at 5:12. My name is Steve Kessler. I am acting as chair today. My co-chair, Leslie, would like to take a little break for now. All right. Do I actually have to repeat everything that's right there? Members present?
we just,
No.
we can go on to number 2.
Yeah, we're going right on to any changes to this current agenda that we're working on.
Yes, I have a few additions.
Okay.
One is going to be to welcome Allison. The second is that Erica McKinney has resigned from the TCC. Another one is meeting scheduling and cancellations, and policy questions on quorum versus non-official meetings.
Can you repeat the last one, Paula? Sure.
Policy question on quorum versus non-official meeting.
Great. Thank you. Where are our minutes?
We have minutes.
Where are they?
There are 3 pages for July 10th, and there's 1 page for August 29th.
Oh, they actually say minutes up here. Okay, we gotta review the minutes from, let's go with July 10th first. We probably should go right through this, right? I mean, it's been a little while. So,
Feel free to take a moment to read through them.
yeah, let's do that.
I just have one suggestion in the minutes, is that Pam and I are not committee members, but we weren't appointed by the select board, and so.
That's on my list,
List
too.
us as staff, president, or something.
Oh, yeah. And that's going to apply to both sets of minutes.
Okay.
That's hard to say in the word Wakefield.
See any changes from my perspective?
I see one typographical error on page 3, line 3. It should be a sample question, not and sample question. Wrong with that correction, but that's grammatical, so it doesn't actually require a credit.
There's also one on the first page, number 2, with the resignation of Roger. It says he not.
He is no longer. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
And on page 2, halfway down, on the dressing program with Mark Lee. In parentheses, it says a pool would significant funding. That
Require.
doesn't make sense. I'm assuming that's what you mean, require, yeah.
Got it? Any others?
The only other thing I would question is, do we need the mission statement at the bottom of every single page?
Generally, the minutes are only 1 page, so, but we can certainly take take it out altogether. It was recommended that I put it on there.
I think we should have it. I just don't know if we need it on every single page. It's just minor, that's all.
What is the preference of the committee?
Doesn't matter to me. It's
Whatever's
just,
easiest for whoever's taking the minute will be my vote.
What was that?
Whatever's easiest for the minute. Woman. Minute taker, what happened?
Secretary.
We're going right to the secretary?
I've been voted in already.
No, I know, but I didn't know if those were the words we actually did use for that position.
So I can take them off, Lynn, that's good. I'll just remove them on subsequent pages. Thank you for the suggestion. Anybody else?
Motion to accept these minutes
Second.
with changes.
All in favor?
I think,
Okay.
All right, moving right along.
The August 29th minutes?
I wonder where it says action steps, September 18th meeting, is there anywhere that we should indicate why September 18th meeting did not happen? Is that, no, okay, not necessary. Move to accept. Let's see any changes, but when we see the changes?
I mean, second, I did second.
Thank you.
Minutes are accepted.
All in favor?
Is that enough of a review for everybody? Is there anything
Yes.
you want to cover on that though?
No, I think that's helpful.
Well, I want to actually maybe use Mark for a moment on, so these meetings for August, these minutes for August 29th, that was a meeting we had here? Okay. So there's no minutes or any notes on the meeting that we had with the interview with Robertson?
Yeah, that wasn't really a meeting. That was basically having to tell us whether he was gonna stay with us and try to come up with a plan, but that wasn't a committee meeting.
Okay, were you present for that? So it's just you and I. So what I didn't get away from it, which I had a hard time translating to the group here was, first of all, he's from Portland, Oregon, not Portland, Maine.
I think so, yeah.
'Cause this whole time I thought he was Portland, Maine. Did you get that feeling too?
Actually, Pam is the liaison, so I wasn't really too involved with that.
Okay.
But I think you're right, he is from Oregon.
All right,
I was surprised when I saw he was from the West Coast.
so that was a shock to me.
Just a point of order, is this conversation going under Harriman progress reports and next steps?
I was gonna ask a question
It's
about the
not on the
progress,
agenda.
the next steps about that meeting that we had, because I believe that the August 29th meeting is a result of the private meeting we had with Harriman and Robertson. And I just wanted to try to get a feel, because I might have read the meeting incorrectly, but he will assist with gathering public opinion, distinguishing needs versus wants. The committee wants to focus on needs of the community. But when I saw a report from Mark Hall talking about the negotiations, it clearly said that we were in charge of most everything.
Mark Lee.
Yeah. So it was, I got a little confused and then I guess I'm confused from the meeting that we had that day versus where we are right now and that they're negotiating terms, like,
Probably this is kind of bleeding into 5, so do we wanna
yeah, that's fine.
go?
Okay. I can
I'm
wait.
just noting that Stephen Mark had a meeting with, Harriman CEO, was that where he was? Mark Lees
Right, and Pam, and Brian Roberts.
and Brian Robinson. And you want to give us an update on that now?
So we're skipping 4 and going to 5, essentially is what we're doing.
Yeah, I think we should do that.
Okay, I'm good with that.
So my understanding from Pam, because I don't think I was at your July meeting, was the reason was, she thought Harriman Associates was maybe gonna pull out of the whole prospect. And that she said related that you guys were not that happy because you weren't getting what you thought you were gonna get from them, that you wanted something relatively similar to what UNH was gonna do with a lot of public, feedback gathered from multiple sources. Pam expressed that to Mark Lee, and then the response was the meeting that we had with him, because she said, you know, the committee's kind of certainly wondering what the plan is. And he said he was gonna bring in someone else as a subcontractor to try to do collective community input and things. So the last I knew, they were negotiating, they hadn't finalized things as early September because they're trying to still negotiate a price. Apparently they have successfully negotiated a price. They have not come back to us and asked for more money. So whatever the original amount was, I guess they figured out what amount was gonna get paid to Brian Robertson. And the next step is for them now to meet with you guys and then come up with their plan for executing the public engagement.
So it is still led by the Harriman Group.
Right. Okay. And the other one was subcontractor for them.
Right.
And I think you're referring to an email that was sent from Mark, and there were details, and I can pull it up, there were a lot of details in the email. And a lot of it contained that the committee would do the focus group, the committee would do all of these things, which we've been very clear that there's only so much we can do. So I think that's of concern. So.
Well, in the meeting that we had with them, we did talk about that we would end up leading the focus group specifically, but we were interested in them compiling questions for us because he seemed to have a lot of experience with the questions. So essentially, we would help facilitate the groups, possibly even lead the groups, but it would be likely a Zoom call. So he would be able to attend as well, but it would be up to us to sort of facilitate the creation of the groups.
My take, as someone that wasn't at all the summer meetings, was almost like it was being communicated to them that you guys wanted certain groups contacted and certain questions asked. And so I don't know if it's so much they are trying to push things back on you, or as they felt like they wanted to accomplish a desire for control over some of this area.
So if I'm looking at the email, Brian and I have been coordinating his role on the outreach below as a description and also role for the committee to play. We are working out the fees, developing the question for the focus group to meet and discuss the goals and topic areas, help develop a preliminary list of topics, review the final focus group's questions, and review findings from the focus group. My understanding is that we are being asked to do the focus group questions, which we have a document started and we're doing that. The committee would conduct the focus groups and compile the results from the focus group through market decisions. Though market decisions could also provide assistance for this as well, though this would add to the cost. For the community survey, need to review focus group results, help to develop survey topics, help to draft and finalize a survey questionnaire, program the survey into our online survey platform and provide a link to the town. A link the town could then provide to people to complete the survey, output data, provide survey results, review results with the town. We would presume that the town would distribute the survey link to residents. So That was on September 14th. So for me, it's hard to know what exactly is needed here for that.
Can you forward that email to me so I can compile it with these things? Yeah.
I think that's the point of the next meeting. With them, is to
Yeah.
nail that down and figure out who to apply.
Okay.
Questions are.
Okay.
I just want to get us on the same page because there's been a lot of back and forth. And I don't always know who's on what emails anymore and et cetera. So I just wanted to make sure everybody understood where we're at and, that it is a bit different than what we had seen with UNH. And that we sort of we kind of have to come to accept. And just wanted to put that out there and make sure everybody understands that we're gonna be relatively in charge of these focus groups. And that's what we'll be taking on as a task. It's better to be transparent than
Mhm,
be surprised.
mhm.
I do think that if we can get these focus groups moving, then we can move on and try to actually get something done here.
Mhm.
I didn't get out of the meeting when we met and, with the Harriman and Robertson that. I didn't, I guess I kind of felt like we should have been asked if it's okay to hire this company, but. So when they said they're negotiating, I was kind of taken aback, like, whoa, slow your roll. We haven't even had a meeting about you yet. But, I think we've talked on the side of enough to understand that we'll accept this moving forward.
I mean, ultimately, our contract is with Harriman, and they're the ones that have the obligation performing. If they want to hire someone else to help them, that's fine, but if they better still perform.
Right.
They still have to live up to what they promised us to do in the contract.
Yeah, I think the fact of the matter is that no matter who we take, that's not UNH, we're in charge of focus groups anyway, so. Unless we went to spend $75,000 for somebody else.
Although our original contract never said we were going to run the focus groups, with Harriman, so, or the RFP. So if we don't want to, that's certainly something that could be raised and brought up at this next meeting with them. But my sense was that the committee wanted, it's almost was giving them direction, we want you to hit A, B, and C, and we want to do this. I think they maybe took that as they were referring to the committee, because they thought you guys had, as opposed to, it was not just, here's it is in your lap, figure it out, give us results. It was make sure to do things. So I think they may be trying to accommodate us rather than push for it on us, but I guess we'll see at the next meeting.
Yeah, I guess we will, because I remember every time I was speaking, the Robertson would come, he would talk as if, this is the way we're gonna form the questions. Like, he was basically taking the lead, like, I will provide you with questions, in my opinion.
Right.
And then I saw in that recap that it was kind of on us for the questions, but we'll find out next time. But I do think we all need to be prepared with questions for that meeting. So we need to maintain that pace, and we can chat about that tonight as well.
Can we change the order and hold the focus group questions for the end, because that's gonna take the longest to get through some of the new agenda items we had today?
Mhm.
Is everyone in agreement with that?
Sure.
So welcome, let's do the welcome. Allison, Karen Blaze, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Oh, did you guys want to know about me? As you know, I have family that has lived in Topsham for many, many years. My dad and my grandparents and my great-grandparents used to live on the Middlesex Road. My grandparents bought the house on the Forest Road, and my great uncle built the house across the street from it. So that's where I live. Been back in Topsham for about 2.5 years. And I am married, and between the two of us, we have 5 kids, but they're all pretty much adults. The youngest is 17. He does not go to school in Topsham. He is with his dad, but we see him on the weekends because he's a senior and he had a life there, so didn't want to make the move to Topsham. But my husband and I work for IDEX, and he works from home every day. I tend to work from home sporadically, and we have 2 cats.
And I don't know, what else would you like to know? This is my first time being on a committee. And when I did my interview, they asked if I wanted to do the finance committee as well, so I might be done with that.
Yeah,
Take you, that's not, there's rules against that.
he's doing both though.
You can do it both.
Okay, well, guess what, Ann's gonna do both now. We can't talk about that here.
We cannot.
All right,
You're
well,
welcome.
great,
Yes.
So
we're very excited to have you.
Thank you. I'm excited to actually be at a meeting.
The next item, number 7, is now Erica McKinney has resigned from the TCC. You want to tell us about that? Did you get an email?
Yes,
from her?
she had been holding off on resigning because she was still involved with the Google Docs, and it seems that we've resolved that. We've found out that they may be stored in the Google Drive with the understanding that any documents are available to the public upon request. So, she has moved on and, resigned, so we'll miss her, but yes.
I did run into her the other day, she was all smiles.
He was the one other person I met besides it.
We need more people, if anybody's listening.
Have you met Pam?
No, just heard about her. Both my dad and my uncle were like, say hi to me.
Okay,
We have 2 more spots available, right? Right?
Yes.
Especially if we're gonna be responsible for more.
okay.
The next item from today would be meeting scheduling and cancellations. That's something we wanted to really discuss as a group because there's been a lot of meeting cancellations and rescheduling and changing. So I would just like to make a recommendation and just say, since we normally meet on the first Monday of the month, that we make that our standard meeting time. And then have the third Monday of the month blocked off in our calendar. So if we need a second Monday, we're not going, can you make it, can you not make it? I don't know if everyone's agreeable to reserving those 2 spots on our schedules. Most of the time, we'll just need 1, perhaps for the month of October, we'll need 2, but I would foresee in the future that we might revert back to 1.
I think that's nice. I think that I'm able to do that.
Okay.
Yeah, it works for me.
So
Does
I
it work for you? And what about time? Is
I'm
5
open.
doable, 6? What is
I am open at 5 until December, and just for December, January, February, I would have to do after 6.
6 or after?
My practice ends at 6, so 6:05.
Okay.
Can you do 6 and we just keep it at 6 all the time?
I can do 6.
Let's just do 6 consistently. So we're always the same, we're not changing it during the year.
I am flexible.
Let me just check the calendar. So I know like the 16th, we got 3 meetings that night, so we're ahead of the Board of Appeals, but we're good because we were at 5 that night.
If I didn't have basketball, I would be voting for the earlier time, I'll just throw that out there.
Well, we're gonna change time in a few weeks anyway, so it'll be dark. Regardless of.
Yeah, I want to be sleeping even earlier.
Right?
I keep finding myself tilting like this because my antibiotics are like moving every time I move my head. It's so annoying. It's not contagious, it's a outer ear infection sort of here. I'm sorry, I should put masks on my ears.
So the 16th, there's another meeting in this room at 7, so I think we probably should stick with 5 for the 16th.
Okay.
But I'll give us an hour and a half to 2 hours. And then.
And will Harriman continue to come in person, do we think, or will it, because the other is zooming, that we would offer Zoom to them?
They haven't confirmed that even that date works yet, but I would encourage them if possible in person, but it's a better experience. So the first Monday in November, looks like this room is booked by no one else yet, so you could have it if you wanted for that one, rather than 5.
So let's record meetings. That would be the seventh, that's election day. No,
Let's
that's
see, it's next day, Monday, the 6th of November.
Oh, yeah, the
That's
sixth,
Monday,
thank
right?
you.
Same thing for December, so I think the Board of Appeals is an unusual thing on the 16th.
Okay,
So if you want 6 o'clock at night, starting basically any day after the 16th of
Did you have no preference?
October, you can have it.
I have no preference, but
And do you have preferences?
what was the
5 or 6? Do you have a preference for 5 or 6?
I would just like us to be consistent, so we're not changing the meetings because of someone's preference.
Okay. And do you have a preference, guys? I'm fine either way.
Yeah. But no, and maybe not the person, but yeah, actually.
So we'll need to.
I can't really, I didn't know.
She can't be here on the 16th.
Oh, okay. But we would still have a quorum.
Yes, we need to all be here then.
We have notice, sorry.
So we will do 5 o'clock on October 16th. And on November 6th, was it?
Yes.
6 P.M.
Let's do 6.
Let's do 6.
And do we want to do December 4th, 6 P.M.?
6:15? Just for Steve to be able to be here at 6:15.
It would suck to say 6 and have you always waiting for me 5-10 minutes.
But November's, oh, I see.
I'm just saying if you want to keep it set at a certain time,
You're at the middle school until
high
6,
school
high school,
till 6.
6:15?
I'm fine with 6:15.
It's only gonna be 3 nights, so yes, I can
Yeah,
rush here though, to be honest, like those 3 nights I can get out earlier. But it's-
no, 6:15.
On November 6th.
And that's through like March, that time, you think, or?
It would just be, yeah, it would be the February meeting. Would be, but then March would be, I could meet at 2 o'clock.
So for now, why don't I'll block out, so that we have a room reserved and stuff. I'll block out on the town calendar for the first Monday of the month, starting at 6:15. And probably this room, I think this conservation committee is up there. But I will also block out, because at least one of the consultants can kind of looks like the 16th at 5 in this room. But I won't block out, although you guys will save them on your calendars.
Right.
I won't block out a room yet for the 3rd Monday of each month. unless you
I
tell me
agree
you
with
guys
that.
want
We
to
just
have
need to block it in our calendars.
Yeah,
So
Because I'm
that,
sure we can find one place, but
correct,
okay.
correct, I agree with that. So, it's a calendar thing. We don't probably need a motion to set our calendars for 2 months, so we don't really need that.
Okay.
Maybe it's acceptable.
So the first and third Mondays for the TCC meeting, the 16th at 5 P.M., November 6th at 6:15, December 4th at 6:15.
in January and February.
And then- Can you change the website, because it now says we meet on the 1st or 2nd?
Yeah.
Can you change it to say we meet on the 1st, and if a second meeting is necessary, it's the 3rd
Yeah.
Monday? Can you do that?
The first Monday in January is New Year's Day.
You don't want to meet on that day.
No, so we meet on the 8th. Right? And
Unless you want to use the 3rd one then. Oh, that's probably why we can do that. So
January 8th and then February. Does somebody have a February calendar in their phone?
I do, the first will be the 5th, February 5th.
Okay,
and there's nothing booked yet for the 8th, so we'll be the first to play that then. All right, so I'll do those.
the ninth item is the policy question on quorum versus non-official meetings. There was some discussion, about, is it okay if I just? There was some discussion about, the meeting with Harriman and the new guy, Brian Robertson, could only meet on October 4th, and we didn't have a quorum. We couldn't get 4 people to go to that meeting because that was the time they wanted. So we really wanted there to be a connection because we haven't met this person yet, and just to have a meet and greet would be good, and so we had talked about that possibility. And then I got a notice that, and I thought we had all agreed on that, and then I got a notice saying that the meeting was canceled. And so if a person makes a suggestion or a preference, that shouldn't make an outcome for a decision. We need to all be part of that decision and not just have one person do it and one person cancel. Does that make sense? So I thought we had agreed that we were gonna move forward with this meet and greet so we could actually connect him so that the next meeting he came to, he would at least have met some of the people, we know what we were. What are your thoughts on all of that? It was kind of like, confusing and how there was so much communication back and forth about meetings and what we were gonna do and what's the next step. So how can we resolve that so it doesn't happen in the future?
Mark has.
Oh, yes, comment?
Yeah, or maybe I'll accept blame. Because pretty much I've been leaving, or Pam's been the one, I would say, herding the cats. And then she left on vacation, so then I saw that they asked about the 4th, she wasn't around to do anything, so I sent out, does this work? Not, I started with Steve and Leslie, they said, let's get everyone else, and it became apparent to me that we weren't gonna get enough to have a quorum. So I said, okay, and knowing too that all these guys are expensive, so I don't think, if we're not gonna really be able to accomplish something, it probably isn't worth having them come. So, yeah, I was the one that said, I don't have, it's hard with not everyone in the same place responding to emails, trying to figure out what the standards are or not. So when it looked like we only had a couple people available, I said, okay, that's not gonna work. We'll just find a date when we can get more people. As far as, there really is not such thing as an unofficial meeting.
Right.
So if we have a quorum of this group together, it should be an official meeting. And it should be, doesn't have to be recorded, but ideally, so that if someone wants to get up to date on what we're doing, or maybe do committing or whatever else, things are recorded and they're posted. We should have minutes, should be. So now that doesn't mean that necessarily the committee can't charge. Let's say that it wasn't gonna look like, it didn't look like you're gonna get everyone present. You could certainly at this meeting say, members A and B, why don't you, along with some staff members or Pam or Mark, try to find out this information. So you can kind of leverage your work by giving assignments out and have people report back. But if you have, based on your current numbers, 3 of you are quorum. If you have 3 of you talking, because you only have 5 people in the committee right now, right?
Oh, because one just left, yeah.
So based on your current numbers, 3 is a quorum. So if 3 of you are together, we should be giving notice of the meeting and we should be, posting it and let people have a chance to participate and stuff.
And I'll take some responsibility for that too, because I feel like we've just in the last 2 to 3 months, really just had this conversations with Harriman, have not been together. And I feel very strongly that with such a small group, we really run a risk of dividing. And I don't want that to happen. I want us to stay a group that works well together. And so my input was, I think if we can't most all be there, that we shouldn't do anything, because then it's just it feels like another side conversation. And I want everybody to know everything that's going on. I think that is the healthiest way for us to move forward because of responsibilities and what we're doing. So I agree. And the way that I took that, if we're not all available, then it will be a meet and greet. I took that as a fact, not as an action. So I just read the email differently. I didn't take that as a, yes, we're gonna do the meet and greet. I could look back and see, maybe that's the thing that happens is I much prefer to be in a room together than doing all the emails because they're doing, other things and trying to catch up with people.
What also played into this decision-making was, Mark, you had suggested that if we wait for a later meeting, that there may not be enough time to do a survey in
Yes.
conjunction with the November voting. So there was this piece of information that said we have to do something immediately rather than wait. And so when it got canceled, I was like really wondering how is this, it's better to do it sooner than later, fit in. And so I wanted to ask exactly what this survey you're talking about in November, how that was gonna work.
It was nothing more than an idea for me, a possible thing. I've been involved in a couple different efforts where it was a pretty good place to get community input, because you go to the polls and you can as we did with the survey last year with the June election. But it isn't anything that's been adopted. I mean, we're paying these consultants money for a reason. So as far as I'm concerned, they should be giving us ideas and things to do. And so it was nothing adopted by the committee. So it's almost too late for it now, I think, because of the, which is why I kind of backed off that is, because early voting is going to start in the next week or so. And it's obviously not gonna be ready, and we want the expert input into questions and stuff, but it's better, I think, to wait, and do it, not necessarily at the polls, than do something rushed and not have a well-designed survey with people that are experts designing it, figure out the right questions and statistical data and stuff. Because we got a great response for our last survey, but there's probably better ways to get some of the information to really judge. Because in essence, the last survey came out with, yeah, we like it all. Well, then maybe there's a better way to try to figure out what's the priorities and what we've used. So rather than rush and get no further than we were, it's better to get them fully engaged and get their expertise to design a survey. So that's why I kind of backed off saying we need to rush to get it done.
I agree. Anybody else comment?
No, it's helpful to talk that through. It's helpful to talk that through.
I think we're all on the same page. We want to work together and we're just not really sure what's happening with Harriman, but I think we should not have, I like Mark's suggestion of saying we can charge members to have a meeting and gather information on our behalf, but that request needs to take place in the meeting and not just with an email, if that makes sense. So it's part of the minutes. Would people concur with that?
Yes.
Yeah, and we were always intending to keep it. It was supposed to be one meeting
Yeah.
that was supposed to be alone with these guys, and it ended up being, and we decided that it was better to not, it was right after we were not happy with them. And I was fired up, and we decided it would be better that instead of being 7 against 1, it would be fine, better to be 2 or 3. And it was
And this is
literally,
going back to Maine, June.
yeah, it was supposed to be one meeting, and then that one got canceled, and then this one got moved, and it was just, it was.
And the whole itinerary
It was a snowball.
from Harriman has not been followed for timing wise, so we lost the summer. So
So
I went,
trying to get back on track.
I read through a lot of the meeting notes when we were gonna meet the last time. And so, yeah, I kind of got that impression, yeah.
So, just for clarification purposes, we've got our schedule set up. How are we gonna fit Brian Robertson into our schedule? Who's gonna be in charge of that? Is that the town's gonna
I
do it?
took, some of the comments I read in the last couple of emails to Art, said that, hey, they're our consultants, we're paying them, they need to fit our schedule. So I sent an email this afternoon to Mark Lee, Brian, everyone, and said that the committee is now settled on definite meeting dates of the first of each month in the evening, and potentially the third Monday. Can you make, and I threw out the invitation for the 16th, so far Robertson said yes. Haven't heard back from Mark Lee either way yet. But
And Allison said yes.
okay, so
So,
someone else.
great.
So it looks like that meeting will happen. But I'll basically ask them to come on one of your meeting days rather than you try to find different days.
So Ally Tippery is from Market Decisions.
How did you spell her name? A-L-L-I-E or Y?
Allison, Tippery is Tippery from Market Decisions.
Will attend.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. So
Now, we
two.
didn't present that to them as 2 options, right? We want it to be the first.
I said that October 16th.
Yeah.
I'm thinking we want to get moving.
Right.
But if for some reason they couldn't, I'll be that night, then next choice is gonna be November.
So if they, in the future, if they decide that they cannot make the first Monday, are we still having our meeting on that Monday and then also on the third Monday, or is it automatic deferment?
It depends what we have to do.
It depends what's on the schedule. If we have to come up with questions, then we might be
Or at
working.
least in our brains, we have a backup date.
But now we have a backup.
In my mind, we're meeting twice a month for the next couple months to try to get on track. That's what I'm thinking. But I'll be available.
and if we don't meet, it's a bonus.
Yeah. Then we have dinner at home.
Right.
So that takes care of the questions that were added tonight. So what we have left on the agenda, if I can help support, is action steps and the questions for the focus groups.
I think those are two and the same right there, right?
Right,
The action steps are clear.
we can just put that in now if you want, that everyone should go to the Google Doc. Members should go to the Google Doc.
So now we have a date that needs to be done by the 16th. Can anybody look at it now? I wanted to talk about the focus group.
I can pull it up.
Okay.
But
So I think maybe youth had been filled out. If Topsham had a community center, would you attend? And I added, if not, why? And then how often do you think you would come to a community center? Would you want the center to have any of the following activities? And there's, you know, A through L there. Would you volunteer to help with community service programs? Would you want to help with life skills like cooking? Would you like help with life skills like cooking and balancing a checkbook? And what other activities or classes would be of interest to you? So I took those and copied
to different sections.
to different
I saw that.
sections and put some thought into fine tuning it to the population. But I welcome any changes. You know, it really was
It's a working document.
It
so
is,
everybody
yes.
can make changes.
yes, so I tried to be as thoughtful as I could with that, so that's where those efforts.
And think
came from.
outside the box, whatever questions you can come up with. It's better to have too many that we can't use than not enough to really get what we're looking for. And I like what Mark said, that we want to fine tune, you know, everybody wants everything. How do we get them to focus on it? Maybe we need to do a thing that says, if you had to choose between this and this and this, what is your priority? You know?
And this may be going back to the initial thing of who's doing what role. I almost think if you try to fine tune these questions too much at this point, the consultant's gonna take that as, oh, they don't really want me doing too much of this. So I'd almost say, here's a list of things we'd like to kind of get addressed. What do you think the best way to do it? What questions do you recommend? You know, and then push it back to them to come up with some of that, because I think if you spend too much time fine tuning these, the consultant's gonna figure this is what you want.
Okay.
Well, I also feel like a lot of this is leading. I think you need to be more neutral to get a feel of what the community wants, because these are very, very specific. And you need a place somewhere to ask the community for something that's not on here. What are you looking for? Because you're not, to me, you're not pulling that information being this specific.
I love that, yeah, that's
You know what I
great.
mean?
Yeah,
Mhm.
what are you
So,
looking for in a community center, just an open-ended?
Yeah, more
Yeah,
something
that's
more
sure.
open-ended, and that's where I'm looking to them for guidance. Because this is way not my area of expertise.
I agree with you. My original thought process was for us to have an idea of what we want, hear what they have to offer, and then we're on the same page as to what input we could say back to them.
Right,
It
right,
was kind of just to be prepared.
Yeah.
So,
I thought we were charged with creating focus group questions.
no.
That's not what we wanted.
I know, but then I
No.
thought somewhere in there, I
No,
thought.
that's what they're being hired for.
yeah,
No.
and now we have all of this, and I don't wanna say I'm frustrated, but again, I feel like we're doing their job. You know what I mean?
We have a meeting coming up on the 16th. Let's not give them our list and say, what questions have you prepared for us?
Yeah. Or that may be too much to expect at that meeting. It might be. What do you think? Yeah, what do you think we should use for questions? Maybe not expect them to have their list right that moment. Although actually, I
But
can
if
throw
we
out the
email
email
them,
inviting them.
If
Yeah,
you email them and invite them to
Yeah.
come with some questions that they think we should use, that would.
Yeah, I
be
can
wise.
Please come with examples of.
And maybe we do an abbreviated list based off in this. Cause I just feel that this is
But the
very,
questions are all different based on what they're using
If it's
for,
for youth versus seniors versus families versus.
or for what kind of data they're collecting. If they're collecting data at a fair, You don't wanna ask 1,000 long questions, you wanna ask short questions, because you want answers back quick, but if it's like a focus group. You
right,
want different questions, well, we don't know what they're deciding to, because he says he has access to so many different ideas. Well, we don't know what ideas he wants to
Robert
use.
says
for us
that?
yet. Yes, because he says he's got experience with mailings, with focus groups, with all this stuff, but. It's up to him to dictate what we're doing to get this information to him.
I agree, let's hear what he has to
We don't
say.
even know if focus groups are what we're doing.
Right.
We like the idea of focus groups, but if he can get all the information without focus groups, let's do that. So, I mean, we're caught up on focus groups, but maybe that's not what his suggestion is going to be with his experience.
Yeah, we don't really know what his approach is gonna be. So, okay.
So that changes questions also. So we could be bashing our heads in right now.
I've
If
been
he's just
feeling
doing
that
a-
way for a while,
Right.
to be honest
True.
with
If he's just doing a mailing, those questions are completely different than a focus group question.
you.
I
Right.
mean, they're similar in a way, but how you phrase them is different.
Well, that's just it. I mean, because you know darn well, if we ask people, do you want a pool? Of course, everybody wants a pool, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, but that's not necessary. My concern is if you ask certain questions that could be considered leading, and then everybody says, oh, yes, we want a pool, we want pickleball courts. But then those things never materialize, then everyone's gonna come back and say, oh, well, I filled out that survey, but it didn't do any good because we never, 90% of the people wanted a pool and it didn't happen, you know what I mean?
Yeah, he had mentioned that in his experience, his best responses were questions that were very broad and allowed the surveyor to give full feedback.
Yeah, they need to
Like,
do
not
the
yes or no.
data mining
No,
for
yes
us.
or no. Agreed, 100%. Good. Motion to accept that.
I mean, I still feel like we're pretty well prepared with what we've done so far.
No, you're very well prepared. I mean, most people wouldn't have done the amount of work you guys have done.
Yeah, I mean,
But I think your enthusiasm or maybe frustration of the progress of doing things yourself, you don't want that to get in the way of them doing their job.
right. I mean, I feel like we can only push it so far, you know, we can literally sit here for hours and hours and hours and hours coming up with
Yeah.
questions
Let's
and
let them
wording
think.
it different ways, but
But that's
Again.
their area of expertise.
it's not my
Let's
area.
hope so.
I joined this to like do fundraising and stuff, you know.
We're not there yet.
Definitely not secretary.
Not there. But, that's just my 2 cents.
I
So
wanna
are
hear
there any
what's
action items prior to the 16th?
I mean, that doesn't mean that if someone doesn't think of something else, that it shouldn't be added, you know what I mean?
But if this approach, which we've just started, is not the right approach, then we don't need to even add.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
I think utilizing it's not a bad idea, so if any one of us wanna go on there and, I mean, it was created for a reason, people,
Right.
there was time put into it, I think we should use it in preparation for the table that's been set so far, so we've been let down many times, I mean, there's a pretty good chance we might be again as well, so.
And we can use the Google Doc as a point of reference. We don't have to give it to them.
Right.
You know,
Right,
just
we
in terms
definitely
of
don't give it to
discussion
them.
purposes. And so I just put down as an action that members should go to the Google Docs and make suggestions as they think of them.
I'll do
Yeah.
that.
Okay.
Does that work?
And I think they may find it valuable insight, you know, they should probably come up with a skeleton based on their techniques, what they've done, open-ended, all that stuff. But they also, if he's in Portland, Oregon, doesn't necessarily know a lot about costumes. So they might find a lot of merit in some of these questions as to helping them learn more about the community. So I don't think you wasted your time. I just think you want to make sure, you know, again. they're-
Well, in this meeting, I'd like to lean into that a little bit, you brought, that's a great point, and I would like us to, whenever, any opportunity we have. We shall assume that you will speak with Harriman on, you know, about those questions, because they have the experience within the state of Maine, so we're forcing them to work with each other. Not with us.
And
Does that make
hopefully,
sense?
anyone that they've subcontracted with will do their homework and research the area.
Well, that's why we're working with Harriman, because they said they did it.
Yeah.
So it's,
Yeah, our
Yeah.
contract is with Harriman and Market Decisions works for them.
Right,
So if we have something we're not satisfied with, we need to go to Harriman and they need to talk to Market Decisions. We need to stay with who our contract is with in terms of communication.
yes, but if they have questions about our market, if we obviously can't answer them, we should lean into Harriman to try to come up with the answers, because they're the ones that have the experience doing all of this.
Yeah.
Okay,
One of the things I'm thinking about with starting to work with Robertson is, well, maybe this is again their experience, but how do we say, let's do 3 things, you know, like, I don't want this to be too, or I guess I question how large of a net they are gonna throw and how we guide or don't guide what it is. I guess we just need to keep our end result, our big question in the forefront of our minds, which is, what does the town of Topsham want, right? Like, we can read the mission statement.
We're not one.
What do they need? Sorry,
Need.
sorry.
We
Yes,
know
what do
what
they
they
need?
want,
Don't say
that's
that.
our statement.
Yeah, right.
And I think we ought to be careful too, because we may lose goodwill with the public if they feel like they just couldn't do another survey.
Right, I
Like,
agree.
hey, wait a minute, 1,000 of us did your survey 18 months ago, now we have to do it again. So it needs to be obvious that whatever we're asking or the way they ask it is something different than what people did before.
Well, and the statement is desires and needs of Topsham. So it is a combination, but of desires and needs.
I also put down under action items that you'll contact. I want to make sure I said Margaret. Robertson, I said, to bring suggestions to October 16th meeting.
Yeah, I can't think of anything else that we need to do.
yeah, thanks for your list over there.
Just that we have vacant positions on the TCCC, if anybody has any recommendations, send out the application to people you think would be good, and maybe we can fill those 2 positions.
well, who does Allison know?
Allison,
We are on the same neighborhood too. so
Yeah.
It's funny, like.
anybody outside of their neighborhood.
Popular neighborhood.
Yeah, it's the best.
I don't have anything else, sir. If you want to
And
adjourn.
we'll accept people from the Forsyth side, it's an important area, that's, could be where this center may end up, you never know.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Seconded. I'm done.